Today's Mishnah is dedicated by Micha and Leslie Zwick in memory of Michael Selesny, a good friend of mine, Shalom Moshe ben Avram. To dedicate a day of learning, go to mishnah.co/support.
Berachot Perek Daled in Mishnah Daled. We learned in a previous Mishnah, Rabbi Gamliel says that you have to daven Shemona Esrei every day. So we discussed in the last Mishnah the notion that having to daven every day was complicated, because if you have to say 18 brachot or 19 brachot every day, there's a danger of rote, as we readily understand, anyone who davens today. We know that the halacha that nowadays the Mishnah Berurah writes, we always have to daven Shemona Esrei every day, and that's what normative practice is. Today is one of the more meaningful Mishnah to me, Perek Daled, Mishnah Daled, which talks about this idea specifically. How do you juggle the idea that such a massive amount of material that you have to say sort of induces you to daven by rote? Rabbi Eliezer Omer. Rabbi Eliezer says, "Ha'oseh tfilato keva, ein tfilato tachanunim." Now, I'll read it to you the way that Kahati explains what he means. Kahati explains that if you make it, this is in the light of the Rabbi Bar Tanura, he says, if you do it keva, he says, kimas'ui, like a burden, then ein tfilato tachanunim, that's not the appropriate way of understanding of praying in the proper way. His tefillah is not tachanunim. Tachanunim means supplication. So what he's basically saying is, when a person davens, there's two basic ways to daven. It's either avodah shebelev, as the Rambam said, or you have to get through it. You go to davening, you have davening to say, and you say the davening. Says Rabbi Eliezer, that's not how davening is supposed to be. When a person is supposed to daven in such a way where his tfilato is tachanunim. I always understood Rabbi Eliezer to mean that you have to insert something, some meaning, some thought, some content into your davening. Yes, Chazal gave you the words, but it's more important, it's critical that when you say the words that Chazal gave you, that you make it into tfilato tachanunim, that you have to find a way in order to take the words that Chazal gave you and put some interpretation, some meaning into it. When you say to God, give me understanding, any parent knows, give me understanding into raising my children the proper way. All of us committed something. We want to learn more. We want to understand more. There's no bracha which we say during the Shemona Esrei that can't have tachanunim, as opposed to just saying the words. That's, I think, the most challenging part of davening. The most challenging part is saying it in a meaningful way to make tfilato tachanunim. Now, I just want to add, Kahati notes that there's a different explanation, that Rabbi Eliezer was actually arguing against the Rabban Gamliel, who said you have to say Shemona Esrei every day, and he was giving a different opinion. But the normative position is not that he's arguing, but rather he's interpreting, he's extrapolating. He's like, okay, you have to say all this stuff, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to say in order to make it meaningful? We'll continue. Rabbi Yoshua Omer. Rabbi Yoshua said, Hamhalech b'makom sakana. If you're walking in a dangerous place, and obviously the time has come to daven, mitpalel tfilah ktsara me'ein Shemona Esrei. You daven a short davening, me'ein, from the framework of, from the nature of Shemona Esrei, like Shemona Esrei, ve'omer, and you say, Hosha Hashem et amcha et Yisrael, save, O God, your nation Israel, kol shart bechol parshat ha'ibur yiyu tzarcheim lefanecha. Parshat ha'ibur is a fascinating phrase. Parshat ha'ibur, it could mean, because Parshat ha'ibur, people who are ovrei derachim, from la'avor, to pass through, people who are traveling. Others say Parshat ha'ibur refers to the idea of, even in the times when people are ovrim al derachecha, are violating your will, nonetheless, yutzar chayim lefanecha, their need should be before you. Baruch atah Hashem shomei tefillah. So either we mention that no matter when, b'chol parshat ha'ibur, even if we're sinful people, their need should be in front of you, or b'chol parshat ha'ibur, even when we're traveling. It turns out the Gemara says that that's not the final text. We don't accept this as the final text. The final text the Gemara says is, Tzarchei amcha Yisrael me'ubim v'da'atam kitzara. The needs of your nation, O Israel, are great, and their da'at, their knowledge, their understanding is short. Yehi ratzon mifanecha Hashem Elokeinu, let it be your will, God, shetitein lekol echad ve'echad kedei parnasato, that each one should be given according to his parnasah, his sustenance, u'lechol gviya dei machsora, and every gviya, every head, every individual person should give what he's lacking. V'atov be'inecha aseh, and do what is good in your eyes. What is good in your eyes. Baruch atah Hashem shomei tefillah. The Rambam says, of course, if when you get to safety, then you go back and say the regular Shemona Esrei. And I assume this means, obviously, if you didn't miss Zman Tefillah. Okay, we'll stop here. I would like to dedicate this learning to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman, Zichrono Libracha. And as always, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to contact me, rspalter@gmail.com.